Thousands of meters above the hot and humid jungles of East Africa are the Rwenzori Glaciers. It wasn't until I picked up a magazine at an airport about a decade ago that I even knew Africa had glaciers, let alone equatorial ones, where snow and ice feel almost impossible. While the glaciers are quite cool, I really made the trip to these mountains because it's home to one of the strangest alpine landscapes on Earth. Above 4,000 meters lies an ancient world of giant prehistoric plants, endless bogs, and icy peaks. In this video, we'll spend 5 days hiking through the vegetation zones of the Rwenzori Mountains, from dense tropical jungle to bare rock high above the clouds. This should give you a sense of what it's actually like to trek through one of Africa's most surreal mountain ranges. The first vegetation zone of the Rwenzori Mountains is the evergreen forest. This ecosystem is common throughout the region and hosts countless flowers and an explosion of butterflies. It's not exactly peaceful here. The noise of the cicadas can be deafening. We saw black and white colobus monkeys playing in the trees, along with curious blue monkeys and speedy squirrels running up and down the limbs. Which monkey is this one?
It's the blue monkey.
It's the blue. Against the green forest backdrop, we witnessed bright flashes of crimson erupting through the canopy whenever turicos took flight. There are chimpanzees in these forests too, and while I wasn't so lucky this time, I did stumble upon some in a nearby forest and was shocked at just how loud they are in real life. The ant colonies in the Rwenzoris were unbelievable. You could sometimes see millions and millions of them covering the ground as far as the eye can see. In terms of reptiles, I managed to find a lone chameleon. although it's the colourful horned chameleons that I have my sights set on seeing. Fungi exploded from every fallen branch, while giant ferns, tangled vines, and strange tropical fruits crowded every patch of the forest floor. We've now arrived at the first camp on this hike. It's called Sinner Camp, and it's amazing how well these structures are put together. All of the materials you see had to get carried up the mountain, and that will be the case for the next 5 days. Just got some dorm style accommodation. I'm the only person in here tonight. Good morning, folks. We have now made it into a new environmental zone. So it's the bamboo zone? We're in the bamboo zone. We have an old man down here, the tree whisperer, or maybe Santa Claus. The bamboo's now getting a bit thicker, and we're heading into the mist. Any panorama views were now gone, with mist covering over trees draped in bearded moss. This gave the forest an enchanted feel. You almost expect to find a fairy sitting on a toadstool somewhere. And hidden amongst all of this enchantment was evidence of an apex predator with an almost mythical presence in these mountains. What have we got here?
I've got the poo of the resort leopard.
Wow. So they are near our camp,
Yeah.
but we just don't see them. They're seeing us.
Maybe they're seeing us, but for them, they are also like nocturnals.
Wow.
This time they are resting.
Okay.
They're hunting during the night.
This bit here is super cool. Feels a bit more like a landscape garden than anything. And we have a nice pink orchid over there. The bamboo forest slowly gave way to a ghost forest of giant heather trees. Their twisted branches were sometimes buried beneath moss so thick and soft that it seemed impossible the branches could support the weight. Old ladders and bridges made traversing the terrain that little bit easier, and their state of disrepair only made the forest feel more magical. Some hanging plants even resembled underwater coral reefs more than anything terrestrial. The Renzoris are known locally as the Rainmaker, and they have a well-earned reputation for being relentlessly wet. With permanent soil moisture and ancient peat underneath, the mountains support some botanical wonders. The giant lobelia can exceed a metre in diameter, and its overlapping, strap-shaped leaves are arranged with mathematical precision, helping the plant survive nightly freezes at these elevations. These plants are sometimes called living thermoses because water trapped within the rosette can remain unfrozen long after temperatures drop below zero. And when flowering, the lobelias send giant spikes 3 or 4 meters into the air, forming dense towers of alien-looking flowers emerging through the mist. The valley opened up, and the clouds lifted just enough to reveal rocky towers rising around us. It was the first time the landscape truly felt grandiose, and it wouldn't be the last. So now we are climbing up to Mutinda Peak, which is almost 4,000 meters high. And we're on a much smaller trail that isn't really frequented by hikers and all of the porters. So it's much more overgrown. This hiking trail is so steep, it's almost like a ladder. In fact, here's a ladder. We must be getting close now.
Very close.
Wow. It was easier than I thought, but it was still very steep. It was like a ladder half the time. Wow.
Thank you for being strong.
Yeah,
Yeah.
the first mountain peak. These mist-covered mountains are actually thought to be the legendary Mountains of the Moon, described more than 1,500 years ago by the astronomer Ptolemy, who believed they were the source of the Nile. While they may no longer be considered Nile's furthest or largest source, they are almost certainly its highest. We made it to Mutinda camp,
Yeah, in the camp.
3,600
Yeah, almost.
almost. Nice. Good morning, folks. Got my hot coffee here. It's the morning of day 3 hiking in the Renzores. And you can see just behind, this is the peak that I climbed last night. But it's unbelievably clear today. Yesterday, I couldn't see any of these mountains. They were all covered in cloud, but this morning it is beautiful. At these high altitudes, the boardwalks are extensive. On a crisp, clear morning like this, with sunbirds darting between frost-covered lobelia flowers, these boardwalks must be one of the most spectacular trekking experiences anywhere in Africa. So to climb Mutinda Peak, we had to go up this little gap here. Looks so much steeper than yesterday. Clouds typically build mid-morning, so we were back in the misty, enchanted forests once again. But this wouldn't be for long.
Yeah, we've joined another zone called the Alpine zone or the moorland zone, of which it has short vegetations. Most of it the tussocks, then the everlasting flowers that favor the red forest dikers to feed.
Okay.
Yeah.
These bog ridges protect the underlying peat from damage, helping to preserve the sensitive ecosystem. On the sections without them, I actually felt quite guilty stepping on plants that could take an entire decade to rejuvenate. In the hard way. Do you think I should go this way?
It's a bit deep.
You think I will be stuck there forever? Okay.
Even leave your rubber boot inside there.
Okay.
this is the police. You went through the mud way too fast, so I'm going to have to give you a speeding ticket.
Okay.
Yeah, you will be paying the fine at the bottom of the mountain. Today is a hard day. We've just been walking in the mud and over the tussocks for a couple of hours now. And you have to concentrate so hard with each of your steps, because if you miss the tussocks, you end up in mud that's like 20 centimeters deep, and that's so much more hard work than jumping from tussock to tussock. So we're over 4,000 meters, there's not that much oxygen, and it's really slow going. Over 4,000. It's quite high. And they have a rescue pad for you guys when you're too tired.
You too. Yeah.
No, I don't need it. I think the porters will come up and they will rescue me.
Our earliest start came on day 4, when we set off to summit Weissman's Peak. The temperature hovered around freezing, with frost coating the ground and the sound of crunching footsteps echoing through the valley. As the sun rose, the lakes below turned glassy and perfectly still, reflecting the Alpine peaks towering above them with mirror precision. Higher up, the endless mud finally disappeared, and the trail became a scramble over giant boulders and fractured rocks. Lobelias and groundsels filled narrow ravines, perched atop moss-covered boulders that had likely crashed into the ravine millions of years ago. At this altitude, every step felt noticeably harder. The reduced oxygen slowed everything down, and the route occasionally vanished amongst the rocks entirely. But every time the clouds briefly opened, the view down to the lakes below was enough to keep pulling me upward. The transition from the final struggling groundsels to bare rock and ice is abrupt. It's a biological frontier of sorts, the point beyond which no shrub or tree can survive. So where are we?
We are now on the top of Luji Savoya Mountain, and we have here Westman's Peak as one of the peaks in the Luji Savoya Mountain.
Wow, over 4,600.
Yeah, 4,620 meters above sea level.
Wow.
Thanks for being strong.
Yeah, thank you. I think we made it here fast.
Yeah,
Good time.
your speed was amazing.
Thank you.
Yeah.
Weissman's Peak didn't quite have the glacier views I was hoping for, but I occasionally caught them reflecting faint light back through the clouds. Like glaciers almost everywhere on Earth, the ice atop the Ranzoris is disappearing rapidly. These photographs show how dramatically a glacier on Mount Stanley has retreated over the last century. But even more alarming is how much the West Stanley Glacier has vanished in just the last 10 years alone. If you want to see Africa's last glaciers for yourself, you genuinely need to come soon. Many scientists believe they could disappear entirely within the next decade. The descent from Weissman's Peak follows a distinctly worn rock pathway past small ponds and larger lakes. The cliffs surrounding the valley almost look geometric at times, before the trail disappeared once again into deep rock ravines that funnel water from the highest lakes down to the flatlands. Whenever the valleys opened up, the scenery became almost absurdly dramatic. Jagged cliffs with water flowing down them rose above the lakes, and giant plants filled the valley floor. At times, it felt less like hiking through Africa and more like wandering through the set of a science fiction film. The mountain goat. The red duiker. He's even wearing the red.
Well
We
done.
made it.
Made it. Welcome to Kiharo Camp.
Beautiful sign. Well done, guys.
Well done too.
3,400.
Yeah.
So much lower. We're gonna
much
sleep
lower.
good.
Today you'll sleep like a baby.
Yeah, and also maybe it won't be so cold.
Yeah, it's not that cold.
Yeah, good.
Yeah.
The final day started off incredibly muddy, but by now I was getting used to finding the firmest places to put my feet. My skills in the mud are nothing compared to my guides, who knew the trail so well they could find all the rocks, logs, and grasses completely submerged underwater. Perhaps it was because we were moving fast, or maybe it was because we'd already spent a lot of time in the lower vegetation zones, but the valley we descended didn't feel as magical as just days earlier. There were still flashes of brilliance, and the cascading waterfalls were spectacular at times. But in place of trees, dense 3-metre high bushes have now taken over parts of the national park, choking out almost everything beneath them. This was much more prevalent in this valley than in the one we climbed. Still, it felt great to see the myriad of birds, monkeys, butterflies, and flowers reappear as we moved down through the vegetation zones. Most hikers know about Mount Kilimanjaro, and some know about Mount Kenya. But very few know that the Rwenzori Mountains are also snow-capped, equatorial, greater than 5,000 metres tall, and far wilder. The Rwenzoris remain relatively untouched because they're difficult, wet, remote, and logistically complicated. But those exact challenges are also what makes the experience feel so special. Ultimately, all of it feels worthwhile for the chance to walk through landscapes this unique, and to witness Africa's last remaining glaciers before they disappear forever.